The mystery of what happened to Bella Goth has been talked, speculated, and thought about many times. But have you heard anything from an actual sim guru before? What about from the sim guru who made the Goths? The following video has some speculation on my part, but is packed with information revealed by a certain sim guru. What I'm about to talk about isn't necessarily new information, but in my opinion, it has been slightly hidden, and so I have a lot to say about it. But first, did you know I stream every Wednesday and Friday at 6 PM GMT+1? Come join me for a lovely chat and some Sims gameplay.
Bronson is playing in the ocean while his fiance or whatever is like drowning.
Don't worry if you can't make it, I have a second channel called Miss Lore Plays where I post edited streams every Friday evening. Alright, now back to the video. Hello everyone, and welcome to The Sims Lore. Today we'll be discussing the real mystery behind Bella Goth, who created her and her family, and her character's in-game purpose. This information has always been muddled and not readily available for some reason. A lot of digging was involved in making this, and something tells me that in a way they didn't want this to be advertised public knowledge. And even though it is out now, they haven't, and I believe will not be revisiting the mystery in any other iterations of the game. Also, I will be talking about Bella Goth and her Strange Town clone, and how she had an actual in-game purpose. So grab your snacks and don't forget that snack report in the comments below. Also, please subscribe and like this if you enjoyed it. Alright, let's get straight into the video. This story begins here in 2017 on Twitter. Sim guru Lindsay tweeted about Bella and her mystery. Bella was abducted and dropped in Strangetown. So, confirmation right here that Bella roaming around Strangetown is supposed to be Pleasant View Bella. But somehow people still didn't believe it. But there's a good reason for that. Then, 2 years later, Lindsay confirms that Strangetown Bella is Pleasant View Bella again, who was just dropped off in Strangetown after the aliens abducted her. But for the longest time, Bella never showed up walking around in Strangetown. Do you guys remember that? Around the time Lindsay tweeted her last Bella tweet in 2019, she also gave an interview to the Community Team podcast. So let's look at that a little bit. The podcast was created in 2018 with the goal of providing game updates as well as interviewing producers, designers, managers, and special guests, all who were involved in the making of several big EA names. As of 2019, the podcast has 2 Sims-related episodes. Episodes number 7, titled Sul Sul, where producer Grant Rodiak interviews Lindsay Pearson, the now Vice President Franchise Creative at The Sims. And episode 9, titled Best Bugs, where Grant interviews designer Matt Yang and producer Antonio Romeo about in-game bugs and glitches. In the Sul Sul episode, a lot is discussed about Bella Goth, the making of The Sims 2, and a pretty big bug. This interview is incredibly important as it made me realize a few things that I will show you. Before that though, I will give you a rundown of everything discussed in said episode. Let's begin with Sim Guru Lindsay. Lindsay Pearson started working for Maxis in 2002, having just graduated from art school in Sunnyvale, California. She began as a quality assurance tester on Sims Unleashed. She then moved on to being a designer and producer for The Sims Making Magic. Her role in The Sims 2 was creating the world, houses, and stories. For The Sims 3, she was the lead producer, and for The Sims 4, a senior producer. During the interview, Lindsay was the general manager in charge of the whole Sim studio, but as of the making of this video, Lindsay is the Vice President Franchise Creative at The Sims. The interview starts off with them speaking about her role as general manager, which involved thinking about which direction is the studio going towards, how they're going to get there, and what the Sims game will get to have by trying to incorporate people's ideas and wants for future packs, as well as keeping in mind that a lot of cool ideas never get to be in game for various reasons, which is an experience they described as sobering and a lot less fun. Lindsay explains how her art school background fit in with production, saying she was part of the design and art side of things in The Sims 1 by making some walls and floors, but enjoyed facilitating the other artists and engineers making the game, which naturally shifted her from design to production. She goes on to say that in The Sims 1, they introduced characters that are now the iconic ones, and they gave them somewhat of a backstory, but in fact, it was the fans who made up cool things about them, and they ran with those ideas. They then used those stories for The Sims 2, but with a time shift in the future. Lindsay explains how each neighborhood for The Sims 2 was created to have a different feel and look, meaning they could highlight different gameplay, to then highlight different mechanics of the game, which meant different gameplay. So for example, Pleasant View was the relatively normal suburbia with plenty of different families to get you started, including favourites from the past like the Goths and the Pleasants, while Strangetown was filled with weirder game mechanics such as the Smiths or the Curious Household, introducing the player to aliens. Veronaville, as explained by Lindsay, was to reveal to the player the drama that they could create through relationships, family feuds, and romantic connections seen through the Caps and Monties. So these neighborhoods were a brilliant way to showcase all these new features and depth that weren't available in The Sims 1. This bit really drove home for me the fact that the stories nudge you to use your imagination rather than telling you this is how it goes and how it ends. It pushes the player to think further into the narrative told to them, as pretty much all of these stories are open-ended and unfinished. It is the player who gets to finish the story and continue it, very much like a writing prompt, but fully visually interactive. I mean, for example, the player can play the game up until a certain point and then pass it on to a friend or family member for them to continue the story. So the possibilities are endless, really. Okay, next up, Lindsay talks about the Goths and how much of a huge influence they were in the making of The Sims 2. Everyone wanted to see their return, and boy did we get their return. Except Bella. Kind of. Simguru Lindsay basically confirms that Bella did in fact get abducted by aliens whilst hanging out with Don Lothario, and mentions she's had to say this a few times on Twitter.
So, well, Bella did disappear. In the little photos of her family history, she had been hanging out with Don Lothario. They were looking into the telescope, and she was abducted by aliens. That is true.
Bella did indeed disappear due to an alien abduction, and was supposed to be discovered in Strangetown as if she were dropped off there by her abductors. Mystery solved. However, Simguru Lindsay shares that she made a mistake when trying to have Bella appear in Strangetown. When coding this, Lindsay found that there was a bug where Bella was not part of the Strangetown townies. She just never showed up anywhere. Which brings me to my next point. Why was everyone so intrigued? When the game first shipped, Bella was missing. We all knew that. We were all incredibly intrigued by the mystery. What happened to her? Where did she go? Can we still play with her? She appeared in the Strangetown family album with lots of descriptions hinting at the fact that she was abducted and will make an appearance in Strangetown. Well, to everyone's surprise, she never did. This created even more of an interest towards her and her mystery, when in fact it was revealed in 2019 by Lindsay through the podcast and her tweet that she had made a mistake, which caused Bella to never show up in Strangetown. This was later patched, but not made public from what I remember. Not much explanation was given at the time as to what happened and why she never showed up. Once it was patched and she did show up, we all freaked out a bit. Theories and speculations flew about, saying how Bella got cloned and she can be found in Strangetown. Because, I mean, I think by the time they patched it, we were already well aware of the cheats and started resurrecting Pleasant View Bella left, right, and center. But have you ever wondered why this information wasn't available, say, back in 2004 when the game actually came out and the mistake was patched? The whole thing was pretty nipped in the bud. It's because of the same reason. The mystery alone was such a hit that the production team really benefited from everyone not fully knowing anything about it. The speculation and the amount of storytelling opportunities alone were amazing for the Sims team and the game's success. And we can see that they milked it by even creating an interview with Bella Goth. This created even more of an interest towards her and her mystery as the team spoke more and more about her. And what a happy accident this was for the team. It really just began with the mystery being that she was abducted by aliens, but oh look, if you play in Strangetown, you can find her there. Case closed. But this mistake gave us all something we could continue, speculate about, and be creeped out about. They made a mystery which was never intended to become so intriguing. The story of Bella Goth and her disappearance became almost viral, and people who hadn't even heard of the game were expressing interest or knew about it. It was never meant to be this mysterious.
It was unintentionally more fascinating than we thought it would be. We were like, oh, it's a good way to tie neighborhoods together. But it actually turned into this really great conspiracy theory for years, honestly. So she was supposed to show up in Strangetown, and due to a bug in the code, she never showed up anywhere, which was extra mysterious and unintended.
So this essentially is all about how one mistake became a huge unsolved mystery in the Sims franchise, and how Maxis and EA really benefited from it. So why did they only start talking about this so late? I mean, did The Sims 4 suck so bad that people weren't playing it, and so they started to look back at earlier iterations of the game? Probably. I'm not too sure about that, but it's kind of funny. Okay, so this wouldn't be my channel if we didn't do some speculation, so let's dive right in. I want to take a closer look at Bella's in-game character purpose. Why was she made? Number one, the obvious reason, because she was a fan favorite. Of course, alongside her family. But this gave the player a bit of a twist in the story. It made it more interactive and interesting in that we needed to figure out what happened to her. Now, in reality, they made it pretty easy by hiding her in another neighborhood. But Lindsay's happy accident is what made it harder to continue with that storyline. 2. Bella served her purpose in Strangetown by walking around, therefore allowing the player to find her and solve the mystery. This, in my opinion, was a way to connect the neighborhoods and have both worlds almost collide. So they specifically made Bella for Strangetown since you cannot travel around different neighborhoods with your Sims, so they used her disappearance by alien abduction to tie the gameplay with aliens and therefore allowing you to discover how and where you can play with them. Lindsay does say that she's a big fan of the goofy type of gameplay, so the aliens were one of her favorite parts. Honestly, for a second there, I thought that Lindsay's mistake, the bug, was actually the connection between the neighborhoods. I thought, wow, okay, they couldn't establish a connection between the neighborhoods and they didn't want to scrap the whole Bella story, so they had to make a copy of her and add her to the townies in Strangetown, pretending it's the same sim and leaving Pleasant View Bella the way she was, just floating around in the back rooms of the game code. I never thought it was actually with intent, but what do I know about game coding? Bella's in-game purpose was to also show the player the number of possibilities you could create in-game. You could have a sim abducted and make them in a separate neighborhood, not being able to go back home. You could essentially create whatever story you wanted and let your imagination run wild, even though the game mechanics didn't allow it. Another good thing to mention here is that before coming across the podcast, I wanted to reach out to a producer or designer that would have been involved in creating the Goths to understand more about the storyline and mystery. I reached out to producer Ray Madza through his website, and this was his response. He mentions he doesn't have direct knowledge of who exactly made the Goths, but we know it was Lindsay who was heavily involved in making them and their story. This is important because in my last video, I mentioned that the studio, being as big as it got back then, departments probably didn't communicate. Therefore, the people in charge of making the Sim stories and family albums were not aware of all game mechanics and compatibility issues within the gameplay. I mentioned this theory about the telescope present in the family album photos. If we look closely at this family album picture of Dawn and Bella, we can see that Dawn has this telescope, which is actually incompatible with alien abduction. Now, why is that? Why did the developers change it up? Or did they? Another thing could be that the developer who made the family is not the same developer who did family album photos, so they wouldn't know about compatibility with alien abduction. I mean, let's face it, the team was started off with 5 to 10 people, but as it developed, it turned into 250 people. Miscommunication, missed notes, or other things more than likely came in the way of having everything perfect by release date. So now it's kind of good to know that this isn't so much speculation anymore. Lindsay didn't want Bella showing up walking around in Pleasant View, so she hid her. She doesn't appear dead in the family tree because of the code, which makes her icon look like she's alive, but the game still treats her as dead, and that's why you can resurrect her. The goal was never to resurrect her. They didn't really plan to have us do that as part of the story. But because of Lindsay's mistake, we all looked deeper into it. We were all meant to just find her walking around in Strangetown, put 2 and 2 together. The big reveal being, there she is, walking around in Strangetown. However, the real story is so much more tragic than all the other speculations about her. Strangetown Bella can never be reunited with her family in Pleasantview. She can never see her kids again, or find out that Dina is working Mortimer. All in all, I think this is a pretty happy accident, for the developers, but also for us. The amount of happiness that Bella Goth's story has brought to me has been incredible. And not just me, millions of other people. Countless of hours in-game were spent trying to find what really happened to her and how to get her back. Countless hours spent telling her story and loving every minute. And it doesn't have to end here, which is the beauty of the Sims game, an amazing storytelling tool. Alright guys, there you have it, what really happened behind Bella Goth's mystery and her in-game purpose. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please let me know your theories in the comments below. I would like to thank my Sul channel members Jiggly and Krissy Pyne. Thank you both so much for your support. I would also like to thank my patrons Whitney Marion, Papa Khan, Negative Dana, Aurora Grimm, LeMay, ML, Alia Deshayas, Shelby Hill, Perlog Anwil, Amy Louise, Carolyn, Kitajan the Arcane Archer, Nicole Dante, Artie Flashback, Nathan Lim, Asmina, and Elizabeth Lindloff. Thank you all so much for supporting my channel. That's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know your theories in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram for more lore and updates. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!